Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Very Cold Lasagna Podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Lasagna. This is episode 292 and a half. Yeah, and a half. Can you consider it 292 and a half? I guess you can. You're on Very Cold Lasagna because in this episode and a half, we're here to once again talk about my San Francisco 49ers coming off a mini bye in this weekly roundup in this edition of our Red and Gold weekly roundup in review. The fifth edition of it. We're here to look ahead, preview their week 6 matchup in what has now become a big week 6 matchup in Tampa Bay against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield. So yeah, all of a sudden this has become the game of the week in week 6. And why is that? We'll talk about it in a bit. So yeah, after all that has happened in the last week for my San Francisco 49ers and everything around it. Yeah, must win, big time game for them this weekend. And yeah, that's basically all we have to talk about here in this episode because we talked about pretty much in the last 49ers weekly roundup, 2 games in 1. So in case you missed that one, make sure to get caught up on that in the episode before our previous episode. But before we get talking about my San Francisco 49ers and the game that is coming up this Sunday, make sure to subscribe. What are you waiting for on YouTube? And tap the notification bell, hit the like button, leave your comments down below. And if you're listening to this on the audio side of things, make sure to rate and review the show and follow the show on social media at Very Cold Lasagna on the X/Twitter and Instagram at Very Cold Lasagna. So let's talk about this upcoming game between my San Francisco 49ers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which is mainly the thing that we have to talk about here on Very Cold Lasagna, because we've already talked about the Thursday night game only on Amazon Prime Video last week for $15.99 a month, pal, or however much Amazon is charging you. But just in case you missed my full highlights and my full thoughts on that game, that wild game from last week, let me give you a bite-sized version because this is episode 292 and a half after all. The 49ers were going in very short-handed on a very short week, coming off a very short loss. Well, not really. They were dominating that game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. They were coming in very undermanned against their division rival LA Rams. No Brock Purdy, no Juwan Jennings, no Ricky Pearsall. So it's all on Mac Jones with a pretty much his supporting cast, aside from Christian McCaffrey, of course. It was pretty much on Mac Jones and everybody to really step their game up and pull a prayer. They had to pray to the football gods above that they had to win a must-win division game and a must-win game overall. Turns out they did much better than expected, despite mostly mad defense and an offensive line that got Mac Jones really hurt. And yeah, it caused a freaking scare for like 3 minutes until Mac Jones decided to go super soldier, decided to go Captain America on everybody. So Mac Jones played through the pain to lead the way with Christian McCaffrey and Kendrick Bourne, who had a career best performance in that game, in a game that essentially went the extra distance in overtime. Managing to upset the Rams 26-3 in a game that the Niners also nearly blew at the 17-7 lead going into the first half, coming out of the first half. And hey, I'll give credit to that mid defense. They made 2 major plays when they needed the most. Alfred Collins forcing a fumble on Kyren Williams at the goal line and stopping them again on 4th down. So yeah, that mid defense, it did pretty well for themselves. And overall, that team did well for themselves. Now they sit here 4-1, 3-0 in the division, coming into this matchup against Tampa Bay. They started a tough stretch on a nice note. And yeah, even as they hope to get healthier, this upcoming game is going to be another big test as they have to go east side, down south to Tampa. Speaking of Tampa, let's look at the Buccaneers and their game a couple days later in Seattle against the Seahawks. Baker Mayfield and the Bucs, not nearly as underhanded as the 49ers were in their game against the Rams, but somehow, some way, Baker Mayfield and the short-handed Bucs, they got into a shootout with Sam Darnold and the Seahawks. Yeah, that so scary, supposedly improved Seattle Seahawks their supposedly improved defense, yeah, they managed to get torched by Baker Mayfield and Egbuka. I'm sorry for mispronouncing that name. But yeah, that Bucs squad managed to lead a shootout against Sam Darnold and the Seahawks. And then when you get to the final moments of that game, Sam Darnold threw a touchdown to Torrey Horton, and it seemed like the Seahawks were going to get a key win, but Baker responded with a touchdown drive of his own to Emeka Egbuka, the first-round draft pick for Tampa Bay, to tie the game up 35-all. And Sam Darnold throws an interception to Levante David. And yeah, Baker Mayfield got the last laugh, got his kicker in position to kick the game-winning field goal and win for Tampa Bay 38-35. And yeah, another shootout game in the NFL season. So this Bucs team, a lot of people call them the cardiac Bucs, and for a lot of good reason. They have a lot of resilience despite their own plaguing injuries, primarily thanks to Baker Mayfield in the offense and some clutch defense. And just like the 49ers, this will be another big test for them. And how can they prevent their opposition from pulling away with the win? And also note with the cardiac Bucs, they have won all but the Eagles game by 3 points or less. So yeah, just keep that in mind when you're going into this game. If you're the San Francisco 49ers, like, you cannot sleep on this Bucs team. So looking at the players to watch for both of these teams, for my San Francisco 49ers, obviously Mac Jones. He's going to be starting this game in place of Brock Purdy once again. He had another nice showing against the LA Rams, despite their tough defense. This Bucs defense, while I wouldn't necessarily say they're as tough or better than the LA Rams, they could still put a hurt on Mac Jones. Even though they're going to be missing a couple of key pieces, which we'll get into a bit. And Mac Jones is pretty much playing at let's just say at less than 50% at this point. He's just as hurt, if not more hurt, than Brock Purdy going into this game because of his shitty offensive line. Then we have Kendrick Bourne. How is he going to follow up that career best performance? Hopefully he'll have another really good game against a Bucs secondary that's going to be suffering. It's going to be hurt going into it. And then you got the front seven. The run defense was really good in that game against the LA Rams, but the pass rush, just like it was against the Jaguars, it was pretty much non-existent. They only got one sack on Matthew Stafford. But yeah, the run defense, it'll at least be there. Hopefully, as it carries over to Tampa. But the pass rush, it's got to be there somewhere. I mean, if not, John Lynch did hint at going after a pass rusher before the trade deadline. So it's got to come somewhere. And if not, John Lynch better be picking up the phone, calling for Trey Hendrickson, Kayvon Thibodeau. Although I doubt those chances at Thibodeau are going to be there, given how a certain Thursday night game went. But yeah, the pass rush internally right now has to be there, has to come up big somewhere along the way now that Nick Bosa is not there anymore, at least for this season. Moving on for the Tampa Bay Bucs, obviously you cannot discount Baker Mayfield and Emeka Egbuka. Again, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing these names. Pronunciation is not my strong suit. But anyway, I do the best I can here. Yeah, both of these guys, again, very short-handed, but they make the most of it, especially with that connection. These two, when they connect, are pretty much virtually unstoppable, especially Emeka Egbuka. Like, this guy is pretty much one of the hardest receivers to cover right now. And with how well he's performed, how well he's been as a receiver in his rookie year, mind you, he has been virtually uncoverable. And already at the 1/4 way point in this season, he's in contention for Offensive Rookie of the Year. And then on the defensive side of the ball, you got Vita Vea, one of the nose tackles, the interior defensive lineman that can really make an impact on a very weak 49ers offensive line. So it wouldn't surprise me if, Vita Vea makes the biggest impact of that Bucs defensive line and can really get to a immobile quarterback, and let alone a very hurt quarterback in Mac Jones. So he could be one of the biggest difference makers in this game this Sunday against the 49ers. So looking at the injury report for both of these teams, starting with my beat up San Francisco 49ers, You got a couple of people that are out, but at the same time, you got a couple of people that are coming back in. You got Yuta Gross-Matos first. He left the game last week against the Rams with a hamstring strain. Yeah, he's going to be missing some time from that. So that's another big hit to the 49ers pass rush. Yeah, as if we needed more. Khalil Davis, he underwent surgery for a broken hand from the Rams game. So either he's going to be playing this game, which he has a 50-50 shot at. I mean, he is questionable as we speak to play. And just with the big club in his hand. So we also have Ricky Pearsall. He's out, still out with this game with the knee injury that he suffered in the Jaguars game. Brock Purdy's out with the turf toe. And apparently they're rehabbing on the side and hopefully making good progress from that. So yeah, not exactly good news for some of the key players, but we did at least get some positive news coming out of this week before game day. George Kittle, he had his practice window open coming out of short-term IR. Now, he isn't expected to play in this game, but he has a much more realistic shot when the 49ers host the Falcons on Sunday Night Football next week, according to Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. So as long as he's making good progress coming off the hammy that he suffered in the season opener, then that's good. That's good for me, and it's good for the 49ers offense. That's other than, I'd say, hopefully Kendrick Bourne, it's severely lacking receiving power right now. Defensively, you got Malik Mustafa. He had his practice window opened as well. He had the ACL injury that he suffered in the season finale last year in Arizona that didn't come out public till weeks later. It kept him out of training camp and the first few weeks, aka month. But he's been progressing well, surprisingly. When he had that practice window open this past week, he was fully practicing, mind you, and now he has a good shot to play this Sunday if he's able to. He's listed as questionable right now, but it would be big for the secondary if he can go, especially in the deep end of the secondary. Now, this is not to say that Marquis Single, the rookie, has done bad, but he needs another running mate to help him grow and develop. And I think Malik Mustafa, for as speedy and aggressive that he is, can really help him along the way and give Marquez Single that running mate. So then you got Kevin Givens, one of the interior defensive linemen. Some people are making memes that are like, "Oh, we now we remember this guy." Hey, I'm also on that kind of train. But again, depth is important to this defensive line, not for how beat up as it is now. Some were expecting him to miss the season with the pectoral injury that he suffered in training camp, but it was a little surprising that he came back sooner than we expected. Now, he was ruled out of this game, but he looked good in practice from the Twitter videos that I saw, even though he didn't practice all that fully. But if he's able to come back for next week's game or the week after, that'll be a good boost for the interior defensive line. So it's progress. It's progress. So we're getting a little bit gradually and naturally a little bit more healthier. So again, baby steps. So for the Bucs, looking at their injury report, you have many notables that are out. Mike Evans, he's out again with a hamstring injury that he suffered in week 3 against the Jets. Bucky Irving, he's out with ankle and shoulder injuries. So both of them missed the Seattle game last week. But Baker in the offense overcame that. So it's going to be on Rachaad White again to carry a big load this Sunday against a solid 49er run defense. Chris Godwin, he was ruled out with the shin injury that suddenly popped up this past week in practice. So, and it kind of sucks. He just returned 2 weeks ago against the Eagles after a serious yet unnecessary ankle injury that he had in that Monday night game against the Ravens when the Bucs were getting their ass whooped in that Monday night game. And now with him out alongside Mike Evans and Bucky Irving, as well as, don't forget, Jalen McMillan is still on IR with a neck injury. It just places even more pressure again on Emeka Egbuka and the rest of the reserves that, Baker Mayfield is kind of like iffy on. looking at the defense, they are going to be missing both of their key corners like Zion McCollum and Benjamin Morrison. So it's also going to place on the defensive side of the ball more pressure on them too, especially Jamel Dean. So looking at the keys to victory for both of these teams, for the 49ers, they really have to get their ground game going. It's been a month into the season, and we haven't scored a single rushing touchdown at all. Like, has Christian McCaffrey even eclipsed 100 yards on the ground yet? I mean, again, I'm not a statistics guy, but have we, has Christian McCaffrey had a really, really big run like this season? I'm like, just a single big run. It's not hard to ask. But yeah, I mean, sure, some of it is on Christian McCaffrey, but a lot of it has to do with his shitty offensive line, their failure to block, the failure to create open running lanes. It's like this run game has to get going at some point. And I also put some of the blame on Kyle Shanahan too, because I mean, you trade for Brian Robinson Jr. from Washington, yet you only use him sparingly. Why do you only, if you're going to use a running back, notably a former starting running back, I mean, you should use him a little bit more, don't you? And then defensively, you got to limit Baker Mayfield's opportunities to go and connect with Emeka Egbuka, because obviously he's the hot hand right now, especially with all those guys out on around the supporting cast: Evans, Irving, Godwin, McMillan. Egbuka's the only guy that Baker Mayfield can rely on. There's obviously also Kate Allen, who I haven't mentioned yet, but I guess those are the two that Baker can rely on. Whoever goes up against Emeka Egbuka, my guess is Diamador Lenore, he has to shut him down and force Baker to go to other options, whether it's Kate Allen or somebody else, that second or third reserve receiver. And then, yeah, obviously the front four, or the lack thereof, they got to finally do their job and pressure Baker up the butt. For the Tampa Bay Bucks, on their side, you got to relentlessly pressure Mac Jones, because their offensive line is putrid, especially in the interior. And Mac Jones has really been beat up in the 2 of 3 games that he started against Arizona and then against the Rams. Now, I'm not calling for Mac Jones' head, obviously, but looking at from the Tampa Bay Bucks side, this is a prime opportunity for Villa to make Mac Jones' life a living hell in the pocket. So, yeah, for a Bucks defense that their front four still pretty solid, they can go after Mac Jones in this game. And then Baker Mayfield, he should really test this young 49ers secondary that is filled with either rookies or second or third year players. Test this secondary downfield. For as depleted as Baker's supporting cast is going into this game, he has been one of, if not the best so far in making the most of what he has, despite how depleted it is. This Niner secondary, again, very young, is going to do everything to lock down Egbuka, but Baker should test the ball down deep to other people because of, like I said, youth. So the last thing I'll say about this game, like I said in the beginning, this game has suddenly become the biggest game of week 6, if not the earliest big game of the season so far, at least on the NFC side of things. Forget Patrick Mahomes versus Jared Goff on Sunday Night Football or whatever game is happening on Monday Night Football. This game, for as beat up as both teams are going into this one, it has serious early playoff implications that can have an impact on one team and the other later on. That's if either team is in the playoff race by that point. Why is that? Well, after this past week's series of events, which was capped off by the Philadelphia Eagles, the defending Super Bowl champions, mind you, losing their second straight to, of all teams, the New York Giants and Jackson Dart in blowout fashion on Thursday night, both teams are suddenly in contention for the number 1 seed in the NFC. And yeah, a win here is going to be pivotal for them. Sure, not right now, but when it comes down to the line, like I said, much later on. So this is suddenly a must win for both teams. But when we talk about my San Francisco 49ers, they got to have this, because as they start to slowly get people back from injuries, whether it's short term injured reserve, what have you. And hopefully they get an edge rusher at the trade deadline. They need to stack as many wins as possible if they want to make a surprisingly deep playoff run a reality. So this game for both teams, but especially for my San Francisco 49ers, it has become must-win territory on Sunday in Tampa Bay. So what do you guys think about this upcoming game for the 49ers and the Tampa Bay Bucks? This coming Sunday on 1:30 on the West Coast side. Obviously, for my East Coast people, 4:30. Let me know in the comments below on YouTube. Slide into the DMs on Instagram and X at Very Cold Lasagna. Let's have a conversation about it. Yeah, big game. Big game on Sunday afternoon in week 6. Not the second month of the NFL season. Let's have a conversation about it. Let me know who you got in this game. And yeah, whoever wins this one is going to be the number 1 seed, at least as we speak. But anyway, that's going to do it for this episode. This short episode, which is, not really that short, but it's a half-sized episode of the Very Cold Lasagna Podcast. I have been your host, Dylan Lasagna. This is episode number 292.5 of this icy yet spicy podcast for all your filthy casual takes on the world of sports. And as always, keep that lasagna very cold in the fridge with your takes on the world of sports. And until the next one, when I see ya, peace out.